Okay, good morning, everyone. My name's Mathias. I am a consultant working with the DACC. I was brought on January of 2023. It's hard to believe it's been that long so far. At the DACC to the point where we have modern programming and a renovated and modern facility. You will recall that back in October, we did a rollout of where our plans were at that time. And the purpose of today is to update you where that is. We felt it incredibly important to do so because our community, our members, our donors have been incredibly supportive, generous with us, and we felt it important to give you a sense of exactly where we are and what's going on. So I'm going to be referring to the plans we've rolled out and talking you through where we are. Now, Mark Geeson back here has a Facebook Live audience, so if I act a little odd or if you're looking for the microphone here, that's why, because this is also going out. So I have two objectives. Now, these objectives are for you. They're referring to you, that you will understand the project, components, the timelines, and the possible funding sources, and that also you will know what has changed since October and why. Now, by the way, not much has changed, but we want you to understand exactly what is going on and what to expect next. So try to give you a little graphic here, and I use colors to kind of break up the various components, because it's important to consider that this project is actually multiple projects. It's not just one all under one umbrella. And what I've done here is given a graphic of level 2, which is where we are right now, and the lower level. Level 2 includes some things in our planning process. Now, I didn't write everything here. Clearly, we're going to renovate fitness spaces here and studio spaces right where we're standing now. We'll have renovation of the office spaces, but a couple of new programs that will go on in the new renovation is this concept referred to as Danville's living room, which you see right here. That'll be the area over here. And also a concept referred to as DACC helping our neighbors, which will occur out where basically the lobby is now, which you see right here. Now, why are those important? When we did our strategic plan, or when you did your strategic plan, you outlined several things that were extremely important. Now, by the way, I don't mean to not talk about the fitness components and all that. Those are clearly here. But we also have this concept of the living room. Well, what was a lesson learned from COVID? We have to interact. We have to get together. We have to communicate with each other. So this concept was designed so that there were spaces where the community could come together, could sit down, could have a cup of coffee, could read the newspaper, could have a birthday party, could watch the television, and so forth, and do it as a community. That was an incredibly important outcoming of COVID. Additionally, this concept of helping our neighbors. Now, a number of our private partners have told us the importance of this, particularly Geisinger Medical Center, who has said, look, we have people who are in this community that we need to get into the workforce. We have people moving to the community that we need to get into the workforce, and they need to be able to come here with a comfort level that they know where can they get various services, human services, social services, and so forth. And this would be a program where we become basically the one stop where people can come and get that type of information so they can acclimate themselves into the community. This could even evolve as far as into workforce development type things. Another component that tied into getting people into the community and into the workforce dealt with childcare. Okay, and you see that over here. So that childcare program would be on the first level, and that is still part of our programming. Of course, any of you who have been in the locker rooms know that they are a disaster and absolutely need to be renovated. That is part of the program as well. So when we rolled a program to you out with these various drawings in October, we were focused very much on that renovation that was funded by a state grant referred to as RACP. So when you look at the green items here and look down here under Project 1, Project 1 is that RACP renovation, which essentially renovates the space here in the building. Our architect, Matt Hummel, has estimated that at $2.3 million. Keep that in the back of your head. Well, then there's other stuff. Okay, as you know, we have a spectacular swimming pool. The pool is beautiful. The pool itself is in excellent shape. However, and here we have it drawn on this drawing, it also has an air handling system, which I call HVAC, okay, which is end of life. The HVAC system absolutely needs to be replaced. And it also has a filter system, which is probably getting close to end of life. Now, not exciting to talk about air handling and filters, but if you're a facility like ours, those are expensive renovations that have to be done to keep the program up and running. So we have estimated the HVAC renovation at anywhere between $250,000 and $600,000. I've got estimates from a number of firms and they swing pretty dramatically. And we've got an estimate on the filters, which we think will be $150,000 to $200,000. Now, an item that's important to remember when you look at this component, and that is timeline. Remember on the first, I talked about not only the components, but the timelines. If we're going to renovate anything in the pool, there are only certain windows that can be done. Because what we can't do is renovate the pool when the high school swimming team is using the pool, or when the Susquehanna Valley, Greater Susquehanna Valley swim team is using the pool. And that, of course, occurs generally October through early March. So a window to renovate the pool occurs when that's over. So like mid-March into probably the end of April or May. So it's a tight window that can happen. But we can then still have our swim lessons, our swim teams, and all of that. By the way, that also affects the locker rooms because the locker rooms are used by the swim teams, so you cannot renovate the locker rooms during the winter. Okay? So timelines become important. Another part of the project is what and we rolled it out when we did the presentation in October, was this outdoor space outside of the pool, right out there, which we would renovate into a surfaced area that was permeable but hard surface, where we could line it for youth soccer, pickleball, and basketball. Okay, there's a company out there called Urban Soccer Park, which makes this type of product, and that we have estimated that at between $250,000 and $300,000. We'd love to do that because we think that would be an eye catcher. That would be one of those things that would draw people here. In fact, Heather's got that drawing right now. Walk up here so the camera can pick it up. Hey, just in time. So it's this area right here. Please notice that it's outside of the pool. It is lined for pickleball courts, also soccer and basketball, and it would be lighted. Okay, but that's a third additional project. It does not have to occur as part of the renovation. Another project. I don't know if you've noticed, but the parking lot could probably be in better shape. Okay, so if we're doing this whole facility, upgrading the parking lot with the new paving would probably be about $200,000. We would love to do that. When it's all said and done, we'd love to have new fitness equipment, which is probably $150,000. And also, if I was really good at all of this, when we were all done, we would have our debt service and the interest paid off. In other words, when they would do their budget, there would be no loans, no debt. Okay? So you would start in a brand new facility, totally paid for, no debt. That would put you in very good position moving forward. Now, when you add these numbers up, it comes to just shy of $4 million. Okay, about $3.95 million. Everybody good? Okay, so that's what we would like to do. How are we funding it? Well, we knew when I started that we had a grant from the state called RACP for $1 million. Okay. Now, just to give you a sense, this is a state grant. And anytime you've ever heard me talk, I would tell you that the state is not always the easiest to work with. I was brought on in January of 2023. RACP had been approved, but we needed to submit some documents. That's why I was brought on. I did that, and that was done in March of 2023. They said thank you, and then in January of 2024, they finally said, hey, we're ready to talk some more. So keep in mind, when we met in the fall, we had submitted everything we were supposed to for RACP, yet we were waiting for them to come and tell us, we can now start talking to get you final approval. That happened in January. We had a conversation. They asked us to submit 6 items. We did that. And then they said, okay, great. We may approve you by July or August. Okay? Now, here's the problem. If they approve us in August to give us this money, do we have time to do the renovation of the locker rooms, given the fact it has to be done by October? The answer is no. So the delay in RACP causes us to rethink our timeline. So I'm just letting you know that, and we have a solution. Also, last year, we were doing a capital campaign. And again, due to the generosity of our community, we have pledges at $1.3 million. We have roughly $500,000 in the bank right now, sitting there earning interest. And by October 1, now why October 1? Because when we said to donors, if you want to give over multiple years, 2023 is the first year, 2024, it's due by October 1. Okay, so the second phase of those donations are due by then. We expect to have around $750,000 in cash sitting in an account. Okay? What else? What have I been doing since? Well, I've been working on grants. Green means we have them. Black means we don't have them. So I have applied for a state LSA grant. LSA stands for Local Share Assessment. Okay. We have received Senator Culver's support. I applied for a little over $600,000. And that grant was applied for specifically to do the HVAC at the pool. Okay, so that matches exactly. So if we get that grant, what that then does is gives us funding to do the HVAC system. We may get it all, we may get some of it, but again, I'm not sure we'll actually need all of it. I think it'll cost a little less than that and we can proceed. We should be hearing about that by the summer. Okay, keep that in the back of your head and remember the timeline I talked about earlier in the back of your head. Okay, I have also applied for a federal CDS grant. CDS stands for Congressional Directed Spending. It's done through the Senate, and you would know it as the colloquialism earmark. Okay, it's what the Senate calls an earmark. You may have remembered that Senator Casey was here. We walked him around the building, showed him the building. That's a huge plus for us. Also, Senator Fetterman's staff was here, and we have worked through both of them. I have applied through both offices. I have also sent the application to Representative Muser's office. We're trying to get him here. And what I have asked for is $1 million. Okay? That $1 million is designed to line up with this project. Remember, this project's 2.3, and we already have 1. So it's designed to give us another 1. And I have applied for a state grant, and this has a long name, but it comes from American Rescue Plan funds, so it's technically federal money, and it's designed specifically for community facilities who provide opportunities for healthcare education and monitoring. Well, our contract with Geisinger provides for exactly that. So if we were to receive this money, what it would do is essentially pay for this space to allow Geisinger to come in and do healthcare education and monitoring. Sounds like a win-win. It's good for them, it's good for us, it's good for you. And it would provide for a space that we're already planning on. Now, oh, by the way, it may overlap with some we're doing here, but I'd rather have the problem of having too much money overlapping than not having enough. Okay? Good so far. Okay, the upside of this is if we get it, we can do the HVAC system. Upside of this is if we get it, we then have a match to do our RACP grant. And the upside of this is if we get it, we now have money to fund what we're referring to as Danville's living room. Okay? Downside of this is the federal earmark, is until you know you got it, you can't do anything. You have to wait until you have their contract. Well, your next question is, Harry, when do we get it? Or when do we know? Well, the federal government's budget is supposed to start October 1. If you pay attention to the news, it never does. Okay? So what we'll know in the summertime is whether Senator Casey and Senator Fetterman prioritize us. We need that to happen, because if we are not prioritized, it means they will not push for us, which means it probably won't be there. If they do prioritize us, it means that we will be on their list to submit when the time comes. Now, when does the time come? It's supposed to be October 1, never is. Usually this happens in usually January or February, okay, of now 2025. But let's say it happens. That means you then have $1 million here, $1 million here, $1.3 million here. If you get this grant, which I'm actually positive, I feel good about that, we're now getting close. Okay? We're getting close to fully funding everything we need. The problem becomes, how do things then line up? Because if congressional directed spending doesn't let me start till 2025, we've been telling you we were going to start in 2024. So then you ask yourself the question, is $1 million worth waiting for a year? Kind of yes, kind of no, and that's why we're here. Because what we've done is slightly change the plan. Okay? Here's what our plan is. We have, or we'll have by October 1, $750,000 cash. When Matt Hummel designed the locker room portion of the RACP project, he estimated that it was going to cost about $600,000. Now, by the way, it's a state program, which means it falls under prevailing wage. If you want to know what that is, stick around and I'll spend an hour explaining it to you. But it essentially elevates the cost because it uses a higher wage rate. By pulling it out of RACP, and that's what we're suggesting, we pull it out, it now makes it a private project, which means it costs less. All right? So what we're proposing is we take the locker rooms out of RACP, use the cash that you have donated, and do it right now. This summer. Okay, so the locker rooms. We think it'll cost around $500,000. We will use our capital campaign money to do it. Okay? The money that's come in so far. Then, so by the way, worth you knowing, because if we decide to go, that means this summer the locker rooms will be torn up, but they will be brand new come the fall. and it will happen in the window that it has to happen. Remember, the locker rooms can't happen during the winter time when the swimming team's using it. So we will get it done before that window. Second thing, pool HVAC and filters. Remember, I said I'm pretty positive that we will get the LSA grant. If we get, and remember I said there's a window that has to happen. Has to happen from basically mid-March through the end of April, maybe mid-May of next year. So we will do that. We will do that in April or May of next year. We think total it'll cost roughly $600,000 estimate. And we will use the LSA grant for this part, and we will use some capital campaign money for that part. Then that's off the list. Well, you're sitting there going, well, Harry, the big part, all this other stuff you talked about, that was really the main gist of it. When are you doing that? So the RACP renovation, what Matt designed for us, what our plan now is do exactly what he planned. Take out the locker rooms. Now remember, it was $2.3 million. He estimated the locker room at $600,000, so it drops it to $1.7 million. That came up here. But we'll add something in to get it to $2 million, because RACP's $1 million is half the project. So we have to get the project to $2 million. We will add in the soccer park and the pickleball courts. Put that part of RACP. It will get funded with the RACP funds, and hopefully we'll know by then that we get the congressional directed spending. $1 million and $1 million is $2 million, paid for. By the way, need to get this. And then if we do all of that, by the way, and that could be in 2025. Because by then, we will know whether we got congressionally directed spending. RACP by then will have been approved. Remember I said they were looking at July, August? Okay, so that will have been approved. So that should meet the timeline just fine. And if we can do all of that, then it's a discussion with the board. Okay, do you have enough money to do your parking lot, to do your new fitness equipment, and to pay off your debt service? And we actually at that point would be quite close. And we think what we would be able to do is, because of all of these things getting done, we think that will be a nice kickstart to anybody else who's looking around thinking of donating, who maybe hasn't yet, or has a little and is thinking of maybe I can do some more. They'll be looking around at all this stuff happening, and we can get over the finish line. But remember the number at the beginning, $3.95 million. If you add up what we would get in congressionally directed spending, RACP, capital campaign, and the LSA grant, we are getting very, very close. I just need some government entities to say yes to some grants. But what you need to know is we are in the next 2 weeks going to put the locker rooms out to bid, with the idea that June, July, August, they be under construction. And then the rest of the building will fall in 2025. Questions?
There.
Yes?
Can you go over the HVAC and filters a little bit? What does that encompass?
Yes, I can. So,
I've got here late. So.
No, that's okay. So, let's see, that would be right here. The question was, and by the way, I'm repeating the question because we're on Facebook Live. The question was, could I go over what the HVAC and the filters encompasses? So, separate project from RACP. We have a swimming pool, which is in great shape. But we have mechanical systems. The HVAC system is end of life. Okay, it needs to be replaced. And the filters are probably a couple of years from end of life. So if we're doing one, we'd really like to do them both at the same time. So what this would entail is putting out to bid to take the old system out and put a new system in. Now, in order to apply for the grant, this LSA grant I'm talking about, I needed to get some contractors in and provide some pricing. and they have estimated already at between 250 and 600,000. We actually think it'll become in somewhere in the middle. Okay. But what that'll do is give you a brand new air handling unit for your pool. And all you have to do is walk into that pool and you recognize you need it. Okay. The filters are at this end. Okay. They're in this side of the building. And they, of course, filter the water. And they're a system that's been in place, but it's getting harder and harder and harder to maintain. So our thought process is if we're going to close down the pool for a month or so to replace one system, let's replace them both.
Now, will that be able to maintain the pool temperature at a more constant?
Yes. Yes. The reason you have such air quality and temperature issues is really because this system is shot. There's a whole science around temperature and air exchanges and water exchanges in the filters that occurs. And because of those temperature changes, it affects the pressure and how the chemicals are dispersed. I'm not going to suggest I'm the scientist that knows all that. I just repeat what other people have said to me. Okay. Yeah. At Central Columbia, we had a pool and I dealt with this numerous times. But so that's the plan. And again, if I get the if I get the LSA grant, that goes a long way towards getting that done. And then the reason it falls when it falls goes back to that window we were talking about. It's almost too late to do it in 2024 because it would have to be done by October, and I haven't heard about the grant yet. So considering I think we'll hear that grant in the summertime, it really pushes it to 2025 anyway. So that's why you see this timeline being proposed. Did I answer you?
Yeah.
Other questions? Sure.
I spoke to Heather about this and we sort of disagree. Is there going to be any heat in the locker rooms? She says there is heat in there. Everybody that comes out of the swimming pool and goes into the locker room, it's freezing. Men's and women's.
Right. So the question is there going to be heat in the locker rooms after the renovation? So that's.
Is there heat in there now?
Yes. You ask people to come in, they're hot. You ask people to come
Which goes to your whole earlier point about air handling in the pool. The pool is much hotter than it should be. It needs to be.
It's like 10 degrees above the water temperature.
Now we're back to the science. It should be like 2.
2 degrees above.
Yes. Okay. And right now, because it's difficult to manage because of the equipment, that's what makes the difference. But the long term, the answer to your question is yes. In fact, what's made, when we got these timelines, we reached out to the architect and said, okay, Matt, it's Matt Hummel. Matt, could you please pull the locker rooms out of your RACP planning? Okay. So we can bid them separately. And it's funny, his answer was exactly to your point. He said, yes, I can, but the challenge is going to be these whole mechanical systems that connect. That there are heating ducts that serve this space, which would be part of this project, which also serve that space, which we're now saying is a different product. So he has to do a little bit of work to separate that cleanly, but that's what he's doing right now. And he told us yesterday that he plans to have this out to local contractors the week of the 23rd. So we're 2 weeks out. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Remember, he's the architect. I'm a math teacher. So I trust the people who know what they're doing. Other questions?
What's the total cost of the entire project? All added up?
Well, obviously, you never know until you actually get bids, but we think it will be roughly $3.9 million.
Harry, you mentioned a few politicians that have to have this support of. Would you recommend that we do something about that? Maybe reach out and suggest our support for these things?
So the question is, that I've mentioned political support? Is there things that people could be doing to help all of that? Very good question. We think we've tried to do as good a job as we can. Senator Casey's been here. Senator Fetterman's staff has been here. Senator Culver has been here. Representative Stender has been here. Okay. We have a text in to Representative Muser to be here. We bring them in, we show them around, we talk about our plans, we talk about our strategic plan, like where did this all come from? We talk about our vision. And it is interesting that very much they take an interest in various components of this. Senator Casey's staff, when I talked about congressionally directed spending, said it should very much be focused on programming here in the building. So the reason that I highlighted Danville's living room, Danville Helping Neighbors, childcare, is because Senator Casey and Senator Fetterman said, that's what we'll fund. Okay. Senator Culver, and we've communicated, said, look, if you need money for an HVAC system, here's where you apply. So we've tried, we think we have done a good job communicating our need. Obviously, I haven't answered your question yet. Okay, you may have noticed that. As a former school superintendent, I always thought it was funny when people would ask that, because I tend to think the answer is no, we got it. All right, because if you're a politician and you get bombarded with stuff, sometimes it's almost like, hang on, right? I know what the need is. I don't need. By the way, if you wanted to turn a politician off, have 100 people send them the exact same letter. Okay, because now they know that that's happening. I think we're fine. If you have a connection with somebody, a relationship, feel free to say, hey, we work with the DACC. The DACC's doing great work. Love whatever support you can give us. I think that would be great. Thank you. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I don't mean to be monopolizing here, but in terms of safety, wouldn't it be better to get something done with that parking lot ASAP in terms of lawsuits and people falling in the potholes and other bump in the road out there?
Okay, so the question was about prioritizing the parking lot. Okay, I haven't heard anybody's fallen into a pothole yet, so
it happened in my office. I'm a chiropractor in town.
Okay.
And I don't own the property, so it's not my bailiwick, but somebody fell in a pothole. There are potholes out here.
Yeah, so you've seen what we're doing and when we're doing it, and I think why we're doing it, okay? This is at the bottom because this is where it is because of timing. This is where it is because of grants. And this is where it is because of grants and approval timing. This is fourth and fifth simply because it's not contingent upon those other things. But the thought process is we would love to do it summer 25. If we get all those grants in, we'll know we'll have enough money. That's when we would be free to put that out to bid to do that. To put it out now, and there's a couple of angles. One is that the priority for the money? The second one is, if you're going to be bringing in construction people, do you want them coming in over a brand new parking lot, or do you want to wait till they're done to redo your parking lot? So it's almost a phasing component to that as well. Other questions? Mark, how did I do?
Fabulous. We do some repairs to the parking lot, so the deepest holes do get filled.
Heather tells me that we have a very good relationship with the town. I'm sorry. Never mind.
We get some repairs.
Yes. Anyone else? Thank you. Appreciate you coming. We are easy to find. If you have questions, just call and ask.